Matthew Bryza, former U.S. ambassador, and State Department employee. Hi there. Good to see you again. You know,
Hey,
there's
great to see you, Andrea.
there's still the same divide, as you know, between those who actually kind of support. I'm going to start with the impeachment, by the way, just so you know where I'm at.
Sure.
That support the impeachment process and those who don't so far. But tell us what has been released in these transcripts, and if you think it adds up to real evidence stacking up against the president so that this becomes a legal issue instead of a partisan one.
Well, my guess is we're probably not there yet at the point of this being information that has a legal implication, because at the end of the day, impeachment, by definition, is a political process. I know Kurt Volker really well. He's one of my closest friends, and I have an idea of what he said during his testimony. And I think what's going to be released publicly is his sense that, and Ambassador Sondland's sense, that President Trump maybe did something that was unwise, that was not constructive for American national security interests. But I don't think they will go as far as to say it was something illegal. And so, therefore, whether or not President Trump is impeached, which means voted by the House of Representatives to be accused of a crime, and then whether or not he's removed from office in a trial by the Senate later will be decided, I think, by politics largely.
Okay, disappointing to hear that. I mean, and the other legal question here is, how is it that White House officials can actually refuse to testify when they are subpoenaed? Is that really legal? And Adam Schiff says it's damaging for the president, but is it?
Yeah, you're really hitting the key question. We're in sort of uncharted territory when one branch of government, the Congress, subpoenas another branch of government's representatives, the executive branch, and those executive branch employees decide not to show up. Those sorts of issues have to be decided often usually in court. That takes time. And so I think President Trump is playing for time. He's trying to move the whole question of impeachment proceedings into next year, into the election year, and get to a point where it becomes pointless to impeach him when the American people are about to vote on his reelection anyway. And I think he feels confident, or he at least is hopeful, I should say, that by the time the actual election takes place, 1 year essentially from today, that he will have turned things around and the economy will be strong enough to carry him through, and people will forget about the escapades in Ukraine.
Okay. Now, as far as his tax returns are concerned, he's lost the appeal, to prevent them from being released, but he has said he is taking this to the Supreme Court. And as we mentioned, because of his appointees, he now holds basically a majority. I mean, is that what he's counting on as well in the Supreme Court, that it will be a partisan vote in his favor that means he ultimately won't have to comply with these appellate court rulings?
Yeah, I don't know if he's counting on it or simply hoping, but this is definitely his last chance. As you said, a lower court in New York ruled that his accountants, not he, his accountants must give his tax returns to the prosecutor of New York. And then that decision was just upheld, as you said, by the Second Circuit Court of New York. So, yeah, his last chance is that the Supreme Court will overturn these two lower court decisions. And I put a lot of stock and respect in Supreme Court justices. They really are sort of the philosopher kings and queens of the American governmental system. And I do have faith. Now, and maybe in this case, being optimistic from your perspective, I do have faith that those Supreme Court justices will decide this on the merits. The issue, though, is that this is unprecedented, and never before has a sitting U.S. president been in this position where he could be accused of a crime, of a felony, at least not in the modern era. And so there's no clear cut, there's no case history for this sort of a decision, and it's unpredictable how the justices will decide. But I do think at the end of the day, as I said, they will not politicize the decision.
Okay, Matthew Bryza joining us there. Thanks so much, as always, for your insights.